In a small town lost among the forests, life went on as usual. The people were unaware of the impending threat, until one day the inhabitants began to disappear. First, it was lonely old men, then young people. But soon the whole town was gripped by horror. Zombies appeared out of nowhere. Every day, there were more and more of them. Groups of survivors gathered at the local school, trying to create a defense. They soon realized that zombies were not just mindless creatures. They remembered their victims, searching for them like hungry animals. One day, in the middle of the night, as darkness enveloped the city, the group decided to take a desperate step. They decided to head into the woods, where it was rumored that there was an abandoned house that might have contained supplies of food and weapons. But the forest hid not only secrets, but also zombies that were waiting for their prey. On their way to the house, they encountered several zombies that seemed to have been created from their own fears. Each zombie reminded them of their lost friends and loved ones. But exhausted by fear and the hope of rescue, they continued onward. When the group finally reached the house, they found it empty. There were no supplies inside, only strange sounds coming from the basement. Deciding to check to see what was down there, they went down. In the basement, amidst the cobwebs and darkness, they discovered a terrible secret. It wasn't just zombies, it was their own friends turned into monsters. In that moment, they realized that they themselves had become part of this nightmarish chain. Their friends were trapped inside the zombies, and they couldn't save them. In panic, the group tried to get out, but the doors slammed shut. Soon screams and moans filled the basement as the zombies began to turn into those who had once been a part of their lives. And so, in the darkness, amidst fear and despair, they realized they couldn't leave. They became the next victims, and their souls were forever trapped in that ominous house, waiting for more victims to come to them. Well, I've got everyone who's next.
In a small town where everyone knew each other, there was a tragedy that shocked all the residents. A sweet girl named Lena, only 9 years old, went missing one fall night. She always came home for dinner, but that night she was gone. Her parents began to panic and immediately contacted the police. The first few days of the search yielded no results. The town banded together in the hope of finding the girl. People pasted ads, organized volunteer groups, and searched all the surrounding forests. But there was no trace, no clues. A week later, when hope began to fade, her backpack was found in the forest. It was lying at the foot of an old tree surrounded by thick bushes. Inside were her toys and a book with drawn pages. But the most important thing in the backpack was missing, not a single clue as to what had happened to her. The next day, a body was found in the woods. It was Lena. She was lying in an old abandoned house, which the locals had long considered cursed. The girl's body was in a terrible state, and there were marks all around indicating a struggle. The township was in complete shock. The police began to investigate, but soon encountered paranormal phenomena. Residents began reporting seeing the girl's ghost wandering the streets of the town, and some claimed to have heard her soft voice calling for help. It was said that if anyone approached the abandoned house, they heard a child's laughter, which soon turned to sullen crying. The investigation continued, but there were no clues. The town was plunged into an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. Everyone suspected each other. A month after the body was found, another terrible event occurred. Another girl, who was Lena's friend, disappeared. At night, when the residents started searching again, they came across an old diary belonging to Lena. In it were entries about her playing hide-and-seek in an abandoned house and about hearing strange whispers.
At the end of the diary
There was a note. I found something scary, and it wants to take me away. Everyone came to a terrible conclusion. Something ancient and evil was hiding in the house where Lena was found. But it was too late. Children disappeared one after another, and the town slowly died of fear. In the end, no one dared to approach that house, but its ominous shadow hung over the town as a reminder that evil never goes away. It just waits for its time.
In a small town lost among the hills, there was an old legend about a mysterious toy known as the Devil's Doll. It was said to have been created by an artist who had gone mad and used his own blood instead of paint. Anyone who dared to take the doll in their hands fell victim to its evil influence. One day, a group of teenagers decided to test the truth of these rumors. They went to the artist's abandoned house, where the doll was said to be kept. Upon reaching the attic, they found a dusty box in which the doll lay with empty eyes and a sinister smile. Her clothes showed stains that were hard to identify. One of the teenagers, named Sam, couldn't help himself and picked up the doll. At the same instant, a whisper was heard in the room, as if someone was addressing them from beyond. It was as if the doll came to life. Its eyes lit up with a red light. Sam felt something cold creep into his soul. The next morning when the boys woke up, they found that their world had changed. Their friends' faces began to distort, as if they had become part of pictures drawn by the artist himself. Every time someone looked at them, all they saw were dark, distorted images full of fear and pain. When they realized what had happened, they tried to get rid of the doll, but it proved elusive. It seemed to be embedded in the walls of the house, and every time they tried to leave it, the doll took them back. One by one, the friends became part of the paintings, stuck in a perpetual state of terror. In desperation, Igor decided to burn the doll, but it seemed to know all his intentions. The moment he set her on fire, black smoke erupted from the flames and enveloped the entire house. At the last moment, Sam saw his friends trapped in the paintings become part of the fire whirlwind, and their screams mingled with the roar of the flames. A few days later, the house burned to the ground, but the dolls were never found. The legend of the devil doll lived on, and anyone who dared to enter this abandoned lot could hear the whispers of those who had become part of its sinister world. Now they were forever in the paintings, waiting for a new victim to continue their horrific cycle.
In a small town where everyone knew each other, two people, Nastya and Alex, started corresponding in Messenger. They met on one of the forums, discussing their fears and paranormal phenomena. Their conversations were full of fascinating stories, until one day Nastya wrote, "I feel like someone is following me. I hear footsteps behind me, but when I turn around, there is no one." Alex, not taking it seriously at first, tried to calm her down. "It's probably just your imagination." But soon he too began to notice strange things. Every evening when he went outside, it seemed as if someone was standing in the shadows watching him. Nastya wrote, "I decided to do an experiment. I'm going to leave my phone on all night to record what happens." Sergei, intrigued, offered to do the same. They agreed to meet the next day and discuss the results. The next morning, Alex came to the cafe, but Nastya was not there. He decided to text her. "Where are you? Is everything all right?" There was no reply. He continued to write, but the messages remained unread. A few hours later, he received a notification. "Nastya has blocked you." At that moment, his heart raced. He quickly checked her social media page. There was a message, "I can't take it anymore. They've come for me." Alex, gripped by terror, ran outside, but there wasn't a soul in the entire city. Suddenly he felt a cold wind and heard a whisper behind him. "You can't leave either.